Hi there, this is a self-reminder on how to do the backwards loop cast on. I've used this in sweater patterns when I am making a quick cast on for sleeves, and it creates a gap, which makes no sense the way I said it, but it'll make sense when I show it. So I've knitted 6 stitches across, and I'm going to place the next 10 stitches on waist yarn, or really not waist yarn, but one of my lifelines. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop this on, if it will. There we go. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Put this on my lifeline. Make sure I have what I need. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, those are going to sit there. Now, the backwards loop will create almost like a bridge to get you across, because right now, if I were to start knitting, and here's my working yarn way over here on this needle. If I were to start knitting right over here onto the left needle and I pull, I'm making basically a thumb hole, and I don't want to do that. Which you can, which would be fine if you wanted to make a thumb hole, something super small in circumference. But what I'm making is a sleeve. So to make the bridge to cross all of these stitches and make it even when I come back around, I'm going to do the backwards loop. So I'm going to pull this needle out of the way, and I'm going to, for my pattern, it wants me to cast on 10 stitches. So I took 10 and put them on my lifeline. This pattern wants me to make 10 backwards loop stitches, casting on 10. So I'm taking my thumb and I'm going under the yarn so it loops, and then I'm just going to pop my needle in, hold it, and pull. And you can always put a stitch marker right there to notate that's the beginning of the backwards loop cast on. So again, I'm going to take my working yarn, holding it, put my thumb not on top, but right under, and loop it around and put my needle in and pull. Let me pull this out a little bit more. Okay. Thumb goes under and around, and I put the needle right into this loop and pull. So let's see. It was make the 10. I had 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've done 3 cast-ons. That's why it can be good to have a stitch marker there in case you lose count. So I've done 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. And there's my 10 right here. These are my first, that was my 6, but right here, this little bundle, that's my 10 backwards loop cast-ons. Now I can go ahead and continue knitting. And it wants me to knit 8, so let me go ahead and do that so I don't forget. That was 2, 3, and 4. And you can see how it stretches across and makes that hole. So when I come back, I can attach a sleeve to this. That was 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, place the next 10 stitches on waist yarn. I'm going to do that again. Let me grab another lifeline. Okay. Make sure it's all the way on there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pull that through. Get that needle out of the way so I can pull this. Okay. That goes on my little lifeline. Okay, get my working yarn back into position. I'm going to pull this little flexi flip back, put this one back a little bit, and I'm going to have to do the same thing, which is make a bridge to get to the other side. So I'm going to, again, cast on 10 stitches using the backwards loop method. So again, holding the working yarn in my left hand, I'm going to take my thumb, go under, switch it around, and then put that loop, as you can see, on the needle. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and again, there's my little bundle of 10 backwards loop cast on. 2, 4, 6, 8, and there's 10. I'm going to put this needle a little further back. And then my pattern wants me to knit 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And so you can see what it looks like. There's a little hole. And this will be where I connect the sleeve. And then here on this side, that's where I connect the sleeve. Now you can see how it's pulling. So you're gonna have to knit however many rounds your pattern would end up calling for, and mine is calling for 7 rows. So let me go ahead and do that so that you can see how everything tightens up. And to make sure I don't lose count, this is row 1. What you end up doing also when you create your sleeve and put your sleeve onto this hole that you've created, this gap, you'll end up picking up an extra stitch in the right and left corner to seal up the gaps, because you will have a gap because this is elongated right in here. And hopefully, if I remember when I get back to the sleeve part, I'll remember to make a reminder video on that. Now, obviously, this is not a sweater for a normal size human. This is for a bear that I'm making. But this technique is used in a lot of sweater patterns that fit folks. Now, this might fit Midge Montana from Pee-wee's Big Top Circus, if you've ever seen that movie, but certainly wouldn't fit the average everyday human nowadays. So it'll definitely work on this little bear that I'm making. And those backward loop stitches can get kind of tight. That's not a big deal. You just have to dig into the loop so that you can knit. You can see how it tightened up real quick. This one's a little bit elongated, and that's okay. So when I go to close the gap, I'll probably pick up this stitch along with one down here and close that up. Can you turn it off? Thank you. Sorry about that, oven timer's going off. Okay. And you can see that's the beginning, so we're going to have a little bit of spacing happening, and that's okay. It'll get closed up when we come back to put the sleeve on, and you can see how tight these are, and that's not a problem. You just kind of got to push right in there and pull so that you can knit. And I'm just going to knit this one row, and then I'll stop. That way you can see what it looks like on both sides. There we go. Alrighty, that's row 1. And then I just have to do 6 more. So you can see on this side, these are the backwards loops that you made, that backward loop cast on. You can see there is a gap, that's fine. Not so much of a gap on the left, but when you go, once this gets built up, and I come back, I'm going to end up picking up stitches all along the backwards loop. I'm going to put this set of stitches on a needle and then I'll knit around and I'll create an extra stitch on left and right side. So I have 10 and 10, so I have 20. I'm going to end up having 22 total, but then I'll reduce back down. That's what a lot of sleeve patterns call for. You create the additional stitch on the gap intersection just like you would a sock, and you decrease it to get back to your original stitch count. So for this one, most likely I'll pick this leg up here, because if I pick up here, you can see I'm still creating a hole, and I want to tighten this up. So I would probably pick yarn up through this leg and this leg. And when I crochet it through, to make it easier, I'll get a crochet hook and pull it all through. It'll end up squeezing, oops. It'll end up squeezing all of that together so it's nice and tight. And then the sleeve will come out this way. But that's a quick how-to on the backwards loop cast on.